Welcome back. I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts, we are driving the 2000 BMW Z3M Coupe, or the Z3M Coupe, depending on how persnickety you would like to be in my comment section. But this, to me, is one of the greatest expressions of affordable automotive design. It's powered by an S52, the 3.2-liter inline six, mated to a 5-speed manual transmission, which is what you would find in an E36 M3 in North America. No S50s here, unfortunately, but subsequent versions in 2001 and 2002 received the E46 powertrain, so they got the S54 speed. Those are a little more desirable, but make no mistake, at 3,000, just a little over 3,000 pounds, this is no slouch with 240 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. But here's the thing. Design-wise, there is almost no vehicle available with this much style for the money. If this was any other exotic brand, this shooting brake design would likely be built by Zagato and cost you $800,000. But for whatever reason, Chris Bengal, who we love to complain about because of the E60 and what he did to the 7 Series, but we have to give him props where props are due, because this is one of the greatest looking things in the automotive world. Now, we've got some lurkers in the background. I'm sure she loves this thing, but that's okay. Let's talk about the style. The Z3, when it came out as a roadster, I was a kid, and I remember a neighbor of mine, a wealthy neighbor of mine, had a black Z3, and I would just stare out my window hoping he would drive it down the street. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. It was shocking to the senses because things were looking so ordinary, and the fact that that was a German car was outrageous. So this design already as a roadster was nuts, and then this clown shoe, as we like to call it, comes out with a hatchback, and it's just outrageous. These fenders are so wide. They really went crazy. In fact, you can even kind of tell how wide they are because when you open this fuel filler, look at all the room between it and the fuel filler. Gives you an idea that they really just busted this out to fit on these super meaty rear wheels and tires. But then in the rear, the classic quad M tips. We love this exhaust, and the way they sort of shrunk down what would then become the E46 rear end, it's outrageous. This harkens to so many different variations of cars, and I think it executes perfectly, because look at these taillights. They look like sort of mini E46 M3 taillights. In the rear, we have a hatchback that is activated with that button, and reasonable space. You fit some golf clubs, you've got your little tonneau cover for privacy if you'd like, a Harman Kardon sound system, and even some tools in the back if you need to change a tire with a jack. And the side profile is gorgeous. You could stare at this little car all day long, and one of my favorite attributes is this giant rear quarter glass. It's perfect. The only thing that would make this more perfect is if it moved out and actually opened like the rear glass on E46 M3. This is just me dreaming. I'm not actually complaining. Gluing us to the road up front on a 17-inch wheel is a 225 section tire, and in the rear a 245 section tire, which could not look more meaty. Somehow this 245, because of the deep dish of this wheel, just looks monstrous. That could be a 275 if you'd like. And inside, the style just continues. We've got the two-tone black and blue seats with this beautiful gauge cluster. First, let's just jump in for a second. The gauge cluster is timeless. Bring this back. I am sick of screens for certain things. You can put a screen in the middle, but please, please, please give us these dials back. This is gorgeous. And I love that it even tells you it's a coupe on the tachometer. It differentiates itself from the Roadster. And then down here, this was probably peak BMW interior design with the clock, your voltage, and your oil temps down here. This little 3-gauge pod is phenomenally cool. With this actual short little shifter, that is not a stock shifter. The stock shifter is in here, and it's got a wire because of course this would illuminate red. I don't think that will. Something to note is that the sunroof only tilts up, but what's funny is they just put a window switch in here. This doesn't have a special normal sunroof button or switch on the roof. It actually just has what you'd have for your window switches. Let's get under the hood. Behind this kidney grille lurks our very familiar S52. This is what we'd see in all those E36 M3s out in the world, and my goodness, did they put in a lot of work at track days in North America. People are still running this engine, tried and true. This is not plagued with that many issues. S54s are still rod bearing sensitive. However, this is barely rod bearing sensitive. I'm sure you want to change things out, but these are stout. They don't make quite as much power. They're not as frenetic because they don't make the same high specific power output that the S54 does, but they're tried and true and have lots of great low down torque. So let's close it up and take it for a ride, because I have always been a huge fan of these cars and I'm just so psyched. To start our M Coupe, we have this fairly archaic looking BMW key. You can get this right in the ignition over here. Starts right up with its low bassy rumble. If you've had neighbors or parents with BMWs in the past when you're growing up, this is the sound of Monday morning time to go to work, because I just remember all the fellas who had inline 6 BMWs in my neighborhood. They just rumbled through the house. You'd hear them. Handling-wise, it's pretty compliant. I mean, this is a fairly soft suspension setup, but the chassis is rigid enough that I get a sensation of everything coming through the cabin. Obviously, hydraulic steering gives me nice and tactile feedback through the wheel, but the steering inputs are not heavy. It's actually a fairly light steering, but it's definitely designed more as a daily driver, so it's going to have a little bit of body roll to it, because look at it, it's absorbing the bumps. Now, you start to hear what 20 plus years of age does to an old German cabin. There's some little squeals and squeaks and things, but for the most part, it's held together nicely. Just because it doesn't have the more potent high revving S54 doesn't mean it isn't stout. This has plenty of torque and power, and it feels fast. It feels quick. So yes, there is a faster version out there, but if you're someone who can commit to being a little bit of a momentum driver, you're gonna get along just fine in the S52. What's nice too is that it's a little car. I mean, it really is. When you see a Z3 Roadster, you're like, well, that's a small car, and especially by today's standards, it's a small car. Because this car has the rear hatch space, it kind of gives you this illusion like it's large. But despite its small stature, it seems to have a lot of road presence. It doesn't feel like it doesn't belong on the road. It doesn't feel like a tin can. It actually starts to feel more substantial than it should. And that, I think, is the difference and the tricks that the Germans could do with their cars that the Japanese couldn't really dial in. I mean, a Miata feels very tiny and small, whereas this, not much bigger, not much heavier really either, and it just has such a presence on the road. Don't want to get in a fight with a John Deere. I'm going to say something very boomerish right now, but this car was built at a time when M really meant something. Even I have to laugh at myself for saying that. But no, it's true. M was a really special thing to have on your car at this point. And it really was a massive differentiator from the standard cars. Today, you've got, M Sport everything. The logo is abused. And I mean, sure, it still means something in the serious cars, but I feel like you've got to get like an M5 competition or a CS for it to really have the impact that it used to have back in the day. And while we're under here, oh, so good. The brakes are fairly simple, but they're potent. You didn't start to see monoblock calipers on BMWs for many, many years later. So they may not look that impressive, but they're big enough and the compound is good. So these do stop pretty well. But I just think the brakes were like the weaker point of my M5. Of course, we get a service engine soon light on our drive. It wouldn't be a BMW without that. Probably just an O2 sensor complaining about something. But we'll have Justin check that out when we get back. These can be temperamental. They're sensitive. There's an OBD2 port down over here. It's just gonna come up and read us something that it's unhappy about. What I find striking about this car is that despite being small and a little zippy, it feels like it could be a daily driver. It still has the German quality of like a 3 Series you would expect from BMW, but it does feel a little bit more graduated than an E36. It feels more mature. It feels oddly higher end. This really seems to sort of bridge this E36 to E46 gap for me. Pedal spacing is really nice for heel toe. Look at this visibility. I love the rear glass on this car. The transmission, fairly notchy, very BMW. Like, I think this short shifter takes a bit of the slop out of it, because a lot of times these feel a little rubbery and a little like they've just got worn bushings, but this one actually feels pretty tight. And they're not dragsters, right? So you're not gonna watch me slamming gears in this car. You're always gonna take a little bit of care in what you're doing. But look, even at 40 miles an hour, I can go to top gear and I have torque at 1500 RPM. And that's the beauty of the S52, is that it's so usable around town as a daily driving thing because you don't need to wring its neck. And the S54, I do think you've got to wring it out a little more, but you know, this car, I think, is just such an all-rounder, and it's practical, and it gets the job done, and it still gets attention for its distinctive style. And maybe at the time, people were like, what the heck am I looking at? Man, oh man, did this grow a cult following of supporters, admirers, and lovers, because there are a lot of owners out there who keep their M Coupes pristine. So, huge thanks to Bond Group for throwing me the keys to this phenomenal 2000 BMW Z3 M Coupe, and I'm gonna go bring it back. We're gonna go read this code and just make sure it's probably something insignificant, because that is the way of BMW. If you're a BMW person, this is not something that scares you. This is something that is just part of your regular journey. You clear the codes and you wait for them to come back. So thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.